Hello and welcome to this episode of Call Shots Direct Cut. I'm Lou from Jellyfielders. Make sure you subscribe and like this video for notifications about future episodes. But this week we are joined by Sharon from Argus Accounting. Sharon, it's lovely to have you with us today. So do you want to start off by telling us who you are and what you do?
Thank you very much for having me. So I'm Sharon from Argus Accounting. I've done 20 odd years in the accounting world and basically decided in December last year that I would quite like to set up on my own. And that is what I did. Unfortunately had 3 months notice from my previous employer. So it's taken a little time to get Argus off the ground, but we're up and running now and we're doing good. And what we do everything from daily bookkeeping to management accounts, cash flow, budgets, forecasts. So a whole package to support businesses.
Awesome. So do you work with big businesses, small businesses, everything between? What's your favourite sort of client to work with?
So I do a bit of a range of businesses. I've got some smaller SMEs, which are on the larger side as opposed to small SMEs, but they're still considered small SMEs. And I go all the way down to sole traders. So it's a complete across the board. The nice thing, I've got 2 client avatars. One is Foundries, which is a business that I work quite closely with and is very close to my heart. And the other is online trainers. So I work with a formal online trainer she's been running formal training courses for many, many years, and she's now converted that to online. So
awesome. So you work with quite a range of clients then, and that must be quite interesting, kind of seeing different people's ways of earning money and how they do that. How is this something that you've always wanted to do? Did you know you wanted to be an accountant from a young age?
Oh no, not at all. So it's a bit of a long-winded story, but look, cut it short. So I left school and was quite determined I wanted to do teaching. That's what I was going to do. Did my O-levels and my dad said to me, you have to learn to touch type. I don't want to learn to touch type. I'm not going to be a secretary. What do I want to touch type for? Anyway, long story short, 3 weeks the battle reigned between he and I. He won and I learned to touch type. Left school, did my A-levels and was on my way to teacher training college as it was then. And I spent some time working with my stepmom and absolutely hated the primary school environment. So that was the end of the teaching career. So I deferred my place at uni and thought, well, give yourself a chance. See, it wasn't even uni then, it was poly. Give yourself time, see what you think in a year's time. And found myself a job at the Covent Garden General Store. So for those old enough to remember, that was a really wacky place to work. But good fun. And came to a point where they said, oh, we'd really like to move you to the cash office. And I thought, sitting in an office all day? It was this tiny, pokey little office. It was like a big corridor, counting money. That didn't appeal. So I applied for a job as an office junior. At this point, not having a clue what an office junior was, but I was going to learn. And anyway, so they took me on, which was quite remarkable because I really didn't know what I was applying for. And what's part of this job as an office junior? So you order the stationery, you open the post, you deliver the post around the building, and you type. Well, my dad was laughing because he said, you're not going to be a typist, and here you are. And at this point, I'm an old codger, so it was on manual typewriters, but I had this great white strip that I could slip in between, and you could then press the key, and it took the key away if you typed it wrong. So you could almost, it's a bit like Tipex, primitive Tipex. And then it moved on to word processors, and then I learned audio typing. So it was the whole secretarial thing. And I went on to be PA for their director of IT. And then my daughter was born, in between had my son and went back after maternity leave. And my daughter was born and she had a load of complications. She knocked up the ologists and I knocked up doctor's appointments. And it came to a point where I was almost unemployable. And a local accountant said to me, look, I will train you. I will give you bookkeeping work to do. I will teach you how to do it. Your mum does bookkeeping, your stepdad does bookkeeping. They can all help you. And all you have to do is make sure you don't miss a deadline. And then you can work it in your own time. So took redundancy from the place where I was working because they were relocating to Leeds and started doing this bookkeeping from home. And it came to a point where they said to me, well, we've got a client that we'd really like you to go into. And I went in there a few days a week, and I was doing it. They were very flexible with me, so I could work around my hours. So sometimes I'd go home, feed the kids, put the kids together, actually go back to the office and do some more work at sort of 10 o'clock at night. But it worked for me because I could work it around the children and around her hospital appointments. And then they went into liquidation, and it was okay, now what? And I spoke to the accountant who had put me in there. He said, well, we've got work in the office for you. And that started my accountancy career. So I owe him a great debt of gratitude because he got me onto a path that I am passionate about and I absolutely love. And then I heard a speaker, a guy called Paul Dunn, and he told a story about giving a goat. Giving a goat? What are you on about? Anyway, so give a goat is if you give a goat to a third world family, the impact that you have on that family by giving them this goat with the ability to now breed the goat. They've got milk, they can make cheese. Breeding the goat, there becomes this herd, and you're not now just supporting this family. This whole support network becomes a bit of a community. And when you work with a small business and you support them and you help them to grow, to flourish, it's the business owner's dream that you help to realize, but also their employees, because it keeps the business ticking, it keeps the business going. And for me, that's if I can touch as many businesses as possible to help them just keep going to realize that dream for their owners, that for me is magic.
That's amazing. So, I mean, hearing that so much makes sense now. I mean, we've known each other for about 7 months now. Kind of. I think we met towards the beginning of lockdown through networking. And you've always come across to me, and I know it's a big thing. Everybody knows you as the friendly and approachable accountant that is, you know, fun and bubbly and everything. But knowing that you originally wanted to be a primary school teacher makes so much sense to me now, because the way that you approach talking about accountancy and things, I've met a lot of accountants before that assume that you know the world about it and you know everything about it. So when they're talking, you really struggle to keep up, but you do it without patronising. You make the accounts information you're sharing seem so accessible and so easy to understand. So is that part of what inspired you to take the route of being self-employed and not working with a larger company?
It is, and it's something I think we as a profession have a duty of care to really make sure our clients understand what we're talking about. Because if we talk to them in jargon and they don't understand what we're talking about, we're wasting their time, but we're wasting our time. And it doesn't help them with their businesses. It needs to be a way they understand it. So it's something I am very, very keen on. And part of the reason I've set up Argos is because my reason for being effectively is how much more I can do for my clients. What more can I offer my clients? And this way I get to do it effectively my way. So if there's a piece of software that I know is out there that's really going to make a difference for my clients, if I choose to invest in that software, well, that's my choice. I don't have to justify that to anybody. I don't have to explain to anybody effectively how we're going to cover the cost of that. It's up to me. And as much as I can do for my businesses, that to me, that's worth it. It's worth the investment.
So I guess really what inspires you at the ground is being able to use the skills that you have, because obviously you're a very good accountant, but to actually help people build their dreams and their livelihoods.
And it's not even just the accountants. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm qualified by experience. So my accounting qualifications, because I literally fell into this by accident, are what I've learned doing the job, working with my clients. So I wouldn't do year-end accounts. I wouldn't do corporation tax returns, but I know the background and I know more than enough to be able to advise my clients. And then I work with a support who does those accounts for me and will review everything I do, which just gives me the autonomy to work with my clients in the way I want to work with them.
And work with them on the level that they want you to work with them on, not this aloof, mystical accountant thing that a lot of people seem to kind of have with their accountants. It's a very tricky relationship, I think, but I've always been very impressed with how warm and friendly you are, and the people that refer you on and that talk about you and give you testimonials and things in networking events. It's always been absolutely lovely. So with that in mind, what is the thing that you're most proud of throughout all your career so far?
So I think forming Argos has got to be the thing I'm most proud of. I've got clients that have worked with me for many, many years that have come over to Argos with me that I'm continuing to support. And what I'm able to do for them now is just taken to a different level in supporting them. There's so many things that I've been able to support them on where I'm not having to think about, oh, how am I going to recoup the costs on this? I'm spending too much time on this client. And for me, that's my passion. If I can make something happen for them and I can support them to see something happen, that's my get out of bed in the morning, effectively.
That's just I love talking to people and working with people who love what they do. It's so much easier to understand why someone wants to help or be available to you, or even just have like conversations and explain in depth what they do when you can see that they genuinely love what they do. And I can see 100% that you love it. So what would be your top tip to any businesses out there?
So top tip for now, businesses at the moment, so many businesses I'm talking to, their biggest challenge is cash flow. They've got outstanding debts that need to be on top of chasing those debts. I've got a wealth of businesses that say, oh, we haven't paid because we haven't been chased. So top tips, two top tips really, is A, chase your debts. Let your clients know that you've got an invoice due. You can do that in advance even. Say, do you know what, my invoice is due in the next few days. Do you have any queries? If you have, please let's clear them out of the way so my invoice can be paid on time. If you can't pay it on time, we understand that. Let's talk about when you can pay it. And then the flip side of that is obviously paying your suppliers, because if you're behind with paying your suppliers and you haven't had that communication with them, that knocks your credit rating. So when you go to another supplier, if they do a credit check on you as a business, then they're not so keen to work with you. So cash flow is a double-edged sword, really. So you've got to keep both sides balanced.
I think that that's really interesting that, obviously a lot of people will talk about chasing those payments and making sure you get payments from suppliers, but when you're working in a supply chain, and the whole point of it being a chain is that money comes down from the top, it's just as important to pay your suppliers. And I think that in my experience, having been on the end of people not paying for things or delaying payment, the one thing that I always say is just phone or email and explain that you're having a difficult time and try and work something out with it, because the lack of communication is more annoying than the lack of payment in some ways. So yeah,
Getting your head in the sand is never a good approach. And even if you say to them, do you know what, I'm struggling with this at the moment, can we break it down? Can I pay you in installments? Most places now are going to rather have something coming in than nothing coming in and no communication.
Yeah, I think that's it. What you're basically saying is that, treat your business and suppliers how you'd like to be treated as a supplier, essentially, which I think is a thing that we can take out into the world in every element of our life. Treat people how you want to be treated. I think that we're going to wrap up now, because I think that we steamed through those questions, but I was so interested. It was so lovely to learn more about you and why you do what you do. I am endlessly excited every time I come to a full networking meeting, and I know you're going to be there, because it's always going to be fun and jolly, and you always have such a smile that just seems to light up the group. So thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any other thoughts you want to add?
The only other thing is obviously the networking. So my business is thriving through networking, and keep networking, people, because it does the wealth of good for your businesses.
Is there any specific networking group you'd like to give a shout out to?
So there's a few. So there's 4N, which has been a big chunk of where I've started my networking. I met Brad at ZeroCon last year, and he really made an impact on me. So when I started networking, the first place I thought to go to was 4N. I've since joined a BNI group, so my networking is splashing out. There's also WIBN, POP and POP Connect, so there's a few. It's exciting.
But maybe everybody who's watching this should check out the Monday morning 8 a.m. for networking, legal, finance and legal meetings.
Now that's got a special place in my heart, because that's my meeting, so definitely check that out, people.
Yes, that is Sharon's own for networking meeting every Monday at 8 a.m. It's finance and legal meeting. There's some really great, interesting foresights going on there to help you. So whether you're in the legal and finance arena and industry, or whether you are interested in learning more to help your business, I thoroughly recommend you check out Sharon's 4 Networking Group. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. I'll make sure that all your information is tagged in the video below. So if you want to speak to Sharon about any of your accounting problems or bookkeeping problems, the information there to get in touch. Please make sure that you subscribe and like this video so that we know to keep making them and you get notified when the next episodes come out. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time on Call the Shots Director's Cut. Thanks very much. Bye.